You're listening to Ideal Practice episode number 141. When it comes to marketing your practice, everybody I know thinks you have to be on social media, right? That's the conventional wisdom. But is that true? How do you know that? How do you know if indeed social media is the right promotion strategy for your particular practice? What if it's possible that there are other, more effective ways to promote what you do? Because every practice is unique, right? Well, I may not know the answer for your specific situation, but I do know how to help you figure this out for yourself. And today, I'm going to walk you through a process that will do just that. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. This is Wendy Pitts Reeves, your host, and I'm so happy to be hanging out with you on this beautiful, sunny spring day. There's a lot going on in the world. It's kind of nuts out there, but when the daffodils are blooming, I just always have this feeling like we're going to make it. I don't know. That's kind of how I hang on through the winter, and right now it's how I'm hanging on through lots of things. So I've got so many things I want to share with you today. We've got a lot we're going to cover that I think is going to be really helpful. But before I get into it, I just want to give a shout out to Katie. Katie is a therapist that took some time to leave me the sweetest note on my podcast. And I just wanted to share it with you because I was kind of reading through some of the things that folks write. And I cannot tell y'all how much it lifts my spirits when you send me an email, and when you send me a text, and when you write a review on Apple Podcast or on Spotify about what you think about the podcast. Because if you've never done this, it's a little bit like speaking into the void. I'm talking to you, but I don't see you. So I think you're with me. I hope you're with me, but I don't know that until I hear from you. And I do hear from lots of you in lots of different ways. But if you haven't left a review for the podcast and you like what we're doing here, I really would love it if you take some time to do that. But I wanted to share with you something that Katie wrote in her review of the podcast. She said, this cracked me up. She said, "Wendy is low-key my girl crush after listening to this podcast." I love that. As a young clinician trying to grow my private practice, I've often looked for resources to guide me when I'm not sure what steps to take next. Wendy embodies everything I aspire to be as a confident clinician who isn't afraid to also make decisions that make money. I love that this podcast celebrates our community and wants practices to not only grow, but thrive. I feel like the knowledge I've gained from the series has helped me become a more confident businesswoman and also encouraged me to continue to create a healthy and safe space for my clients. I love that too. I love women helping women and healers helping healers, and I am all for the positive energy that Wendy brings to the table. You will not regret listening to this. Thank you, Katie. I love that so much. I just want you guys to know that I read every word you write, and I love hearing from you. So thank you, Katie. That just really made my day. So let's talk. So it is true, thinking about what Katie said, that when you are new to the world of private practice, of owning a business, it is hard sometimes to know what to do, where to start, how to spend the energy that you have in the most effective ways, right? Because there's only so much of us to go around. And honestly, sometimes it's kind of hard to know when to follow the rules or what somebody tells us the rules are, and maybe when it's better not to. That's kind of what happened in a coaching call that I had with one of my coaching clients a few months ago, last fall. And after I got off the call with her, I realized that the conversation that we had would be a great teaching opportunity for you. So I've been kind of saving that, and I've decided that now is the time I want to tell you about this. So here's what happened. Last fall, I was coaching a therapist who I've been working with me at that point for, I think we were at the 2-year mark, or getting close to the 2-year mark at that point. And we started working together pretty early on in her private practice journey. By the time we wrapped up at the end of the year, she had been in practice for, I keep thinking it's 2 years. It may have been 3 by that point. I'm a little fuzzy on that, but it wasn't any more than that. It was either 2 or 3 years. And she was already making 6 figures, y'all. She was knocking it out of the park. She had so many offers for her services that she had already started cutting back kind of on the core part of her practice, which is just the private individual work with kids and families, which was what her focus was. This is sort of a little bit of a sidebar here, but part of what made her so successful so quickly was she did have a very specific client she was reaching out to, and she had some very specific strategies, techniques, ways of working with them that made her especially marketable. She also had a very strong network after having been in her area for a long time, working in hospitals and agencies, even before she went into private practice. So all of that helped to support her. But really, it was the way she ran her practice, bringing all that to the table, that made things work. So I was like crazy proud of her right off the bat. But here's one of the things that came up. Towards the end of our time working together, I always ask people when we were doing a coaching call to send me a little update. I have a sort of a little structured little process. I ask them to sort of tell me about various things that are going on in their work. What are they celebrating? Where are they struggling? Where do they want to focus? And at one of our last calls, one of our near to the end calls, she sent me a note that said, lots of good things happening, lots of new contracts, all kinds of good stuff. But she said, Wendy, I have a mental block about being seen, about being visible. There is something connected to that visibility piece that keeps me from showing up on social media and putting myself out there. I'd love to explore this. Well, it's true that not wanting to, quote, put yourself out there, unquote, could be a problem for sure. That's what we talk about in pillar number 6, which is all around promotion. If you are the best healer in your industry in the country and you're doing magnificent work, but nobody knows about it and you don't tell anybody about it, then the people who need your work aren't going to find you. I mean, you might get lucky and just have enough business through word of mouth. But even word of mouth is finding a way to promote what you do. You really do have to find some way to tell the world about what you do. You got to do that. But what if the conventional wisdom about what you should do, about how you should do that, isn't actually what's right for you? Well, the danger is that if you don't give this some thought and craft a promotion strategy that is actually the right fit for your practice, your clients, where you want your business to go, and your own personal preferences, strengths, and energy, there's a real risk, there's a real danger that you could spend time and energy on something that isn't even the best idea for your practice, that isn't even the best strategy. And I'm telling you, because I've watched people try to do this, if it's not a natural fit for you, you're going to struggle with it. Now, it doesn't have to stay that way, because sometimes we do have to grow into something that's new, right? We do have to stretch I hate to say it, but out of your comfort zone. So there may be an aspect of the way you choose to promote, writing, speaking, social media, networking, whatever it is, there may be something that you have to do that is uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means it's just a skill you've got to develop, or an area where you need to practice and to maybe get some help and to grow. But I'm all about being in alignment with what works for you and what is a good fit for you as a human being. So I want to make sure that you don't waste time and energy on something that isn't really going to sing for you because it's just not what you need. Here's the good news. The beauty of this is what I love so much is you can use the 7 Ps, my 7-pillar framework, to figure out almost every time what's right for you. In fact, it was this call with this particular client that made me realize how powerful that framework is. Been talking about it for a few years now, use it in all different kinds of ways, but I am constantly coming back to these 7 pillars as a way to not only think about my practice as a whole, but also about each individual aspect of the practice. So I want to walk you through where I went with this client, tell you what I did with her, and see if this doesn't help you as well. Now, before I get into that, I do want you to know about something. If you haven't, you may not have found this yet. I've had so many people, like a lot of friends and colleagues will text me or email me and say, "Hey, Wendy, where is that worksheet you had on how to raise your prices? Hey, Wendy, don't you have like a weekly process, some sort of like a review thing you do every week? Isn't there a tool for that? Can you tell me how I can find that?" Like I'm constantly getting people asking for that. So I asked my team to put together a page on my website with some of our most popular things that you guys ask for all the time. And all of this is completely free. You can download whichever one you want. Yes, you do have to give me your name and your email to do that. Yes, because I want to know who you are. Yeah, I'm going to say that. But you can get all this stuff, anything here that you want. So if you'll go to wendypittsreeves.com, my regular website, /free-resources, free-resources, you will see there that my sweet, amazing right-hand Queenie has pulled together several of our most popular requests for all kinds of tools that a lot of you like. And you go get what you want, okay? Just go look that over and get what you want. I've got a suggestion actually for one in particular that I think will help you today, but I'm going to save that to the end. But I did want to mention that. wendypittsreeves.com /free-resources. Okay, now let me share with you what I did with this client, because by the time we got through that call, we were able to think this through in a very strategic way to where she knew exactly what she needed to do by the end. And not only what she needed to do, but why, which helps. So, using the 7 pillars, we're going to talk this through. So the defining question, the question of the moment is, do I need to use social media to promote my practice right now or where I'm going? Do I have to be on social media, Wendy? I don't want to. Do I have to do that? That's the question. So, following the pillars, number 1 is purpose. So my question to her was, well, what's the purpose of being seen on social media? Why do you need to do that at all? Why does anybody want to be seen on social media? Like, why do we go to social media? Well, knowing her practice, there were a few things that I could figure out right off the bat. I told her, I said, to me, because now y'all, to set this in perspective, her practice was busting at the seams. She was a solo provider. She does not run a group. She did not have a team. She did not have staff. It was her. But she had so many private clients and public opportunities that she was having to pick and choose where to spend her energy. So my question, so when she says, Wendy, do I need to be on social media? My first question is, well, why? Why would you want to be on social media? Because to me, the only reason she might need to do that ever would be, number 1, because she needed more clients. That's a common thing. Yeah, sometimes that is true. Or number 2, she needs a different kind of client. Like maybe she's changing her audience or changing her direction. Maybe there's a change in clients that she wants to attract somebody new. Or 3, she just has an important message that she wants to share with her audience, because that too is a part of what social media does. It gives you a way to say what you want to say to the world. And when you, as your business and as the wisdom behind your practice, you do have a message. I know you do. That is your specific, in your heart thing you want your people to know. Well, that's a good reason to use social media. So I asked her, I said, which one of these is true for you? And she said, well, no, she doesn't need more clients. That was obvious. And she didn't even really have a particular message. I mean, she does have one, but that's not what this was about either. What she needed is she needs to reach a different audience. She was changing who she wanted to speak to. And also, by the way, as we began talking about this, and I was asking her about how she promotes her practice now, what are the activities she was engaged in now, we both realized that she didn't mind being seen at all when she's leading a group or when she was speaking, because she's done a lot of group work, a lot of consulting with organizations, team building kind of stuff, working with a group of staff in a social service agencies or in schools. She did not mind being seen at all there in front of these live audiences. So that made me wonder what this was really about. So our first question was purpose. Why be seen on social media? And for her, the purpose was because she wants to attract a different audience. The second pillar is people, which builds on that, right? Well, who? Who is that audience? Who does she want to reach? Who are the people she's going after now? Well, as where for most of her career, she was an early intervention specialist. For most of her career, she had worked with children and their parents, families, especially with small children around all different kinds of things. But what has evolved over the last couple of years as she's begun to build her own business is that she really realizes that she wants to serve professionals and adults, other adults in lots of different industries who serve kids, not even necessarily the parents, but people who serve them at large, the kids at large, the families at large. In other words, she wants to have a bigger impact by training the trainers. And she had already had a lot of success in that, and that's how she was finding out how much she enjoyed that. So we were talking about attorneys, educators, foster care workers, other therapists, other kind of healthcare professionals, allied professionals like occupational therapists, physical therapists, pediatricians, daycare staff. There's lots of folks who help the same kids that she was trying to help. Those are the people she wants to reach. Those are the people. Okay. So if we use social media, it's for a different audience. And this is the audience we want to reach, this professional, fairly wide-ranging audience. The third pillar is product or program or service, but I always call it product. So what does she want to offer this audience? How does she want to serve them? What is the product? What is the product, program, or service that she wants to bring this professional audience? Well, that was easy. She knew the answer to that. She wants to teach them how to regulate their own nervous system. Because, and this is sort of part of her core message, when I'm okay, the kids are going to be okay. When mom and dad are okay, the kids are going to be okay. When the teacher is okay, the class is going to be okay. When the daycare worker is okay, that building's going to run better. When the foster care worker is okay, their foster kids and families are going to do better. Like, y'all know this. If you're a healer, what is that about? Healer, heal thyself. Like, we really do have to take care of ourselves. And my client knew that and had a really powerful desire to help those people because that's the best way to spread her impact. So she wanted to teach them how to regulate their own nervous system. And mostly she wanted to do that through two particular tools or two particular methods. In her case, the main thing that she teaches and uses is reflective consultation, which is a very structured process that she loves, that has worked very well for her. She's used it to provide professional clinical supervision. She's used it to work in pilot projects with her local governments and the social service agencies that they have to work with. She's used it in her own practice. She's used it all kinds of ways. So reflective consultation was already a big part of what she does. She was wanting at this point to add what's called a Safe and Sound Protocol, or SSP. which was something new that she'd gotten trained in that she had found very helpful personally and with some of her private clients that now she wanted to begin using with this professional audience. So we have a purpose. I want to attract a different audience. We know who those people are. They are professionals and allied colleagues who serve the same people she serves. We have a product. She wants to teach them how to regulate their own nervous system using reflective consultation and SSP. What's the process? How will she deliver these services, and how will she teach this material? And this is very helpful to think through because she's going to deliver that mostly by facilitating groups, by providing training at the organizational level, and by speaking, which is what she's already been doing. Most of her services are going to be delivered in person for now. Now, there's a chance, and we have talked about this, it's entirely possible that she could develop an online presence and do courses or work in the online space as well. But in the interest of keeping things simple and honoring her own energy resources, working in person was working for her. She does have a virtual assistant who's awesome, and she had a PR person who could help her with some of this. She had actually hired someone individually to help her with her brand, which is another way, another part of figuring out how to promote your practice. So she already had some of that kind of nailed down, which was really helpful. But it was interesting to me to notice that the way she wants to develop her service was not by sitting in her office one-on-one or with 3 people at a time or a family at a time. It was by facilitating groups and providing training at the organizational level and speaking. So moving on to the 4th pillar, which is payment. Well, how's she going to get paid? How are you going to charge for all this? Well, she will still have an hourly rate for family work. And by the way, she had raised that already a couple of times by the time we reached this point. But she really kind of wanted to keep that to a minimum, not because she didn't love the families that she worked with, but because she has, I think, middle school age kids, if I remember right. And she had family issues that she wanted to tend to that were important to her. She had personal issues that she wanted to tend to that were personal to her. So she was very, 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 very careful about staying in alignment with one of her core values, which was to manage and monitor her own energy levels. So she wanted to limit the individual work or family work that she did so that she could do more of this group work, because that was a more effective way to make a bigger difference, and it was a better, more impactful use of her time. She also loved it. She just flat loved it. So she will still have an hourly rate for her individual care, individual private clients, but she's going to keep that to a minimum. Instead, she's going to be offering trainings, already is, on a contract that will be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. One of the very first things I did with her when we first started working together a couple of years ago was to give her sort of a little mini training about how to negotiate a contract. And I gave her a whole series of things to think through, to include, to ask for. That was one of the first things we did, was to sort of think all that through. And so she had gotten a lot better at that. It was hard for her in the beginning, but by the time we reached this, after a couple of years practice, she was better at that. And so that's what we are leaning into here. Okay. Now we're coming to promotion, which is like what all of this is about. Taking into account all the things we had just discussed. What, where, and how then is the best way to promote this work to this audience that's going to be delivered in this way? Is it through social media, as our original question asked? Well, it seems to me that the best way to promote all of our work is to meet our clients where they are. And in this case, her clients were colleagues and allied professionals. So I recommended to her taking into account what we just said about what she loves to do, how she loves to work, and where her people are. I recommended a 3-pronged strategy. Number 1, LinkedIn. Yep, that's social media, but it's just one platform that works in a very specific way, and it is to a very specific professional audience. That is where professionals meet online. And I recommended to her that she read a book called LinkedIn Unlocked. I'll mention that to you too. And if I can remember it, I'll drop that in the show notes. I told her it would probably be worth her time to understand how LinkedIn works, because that is where her audience hangs out. So yeah, I do suggest a little bit of social media. But I really encouraged her to be presenting at conferences with a structured strategy that included a follow-up email to those on her list. And there's a whole way I recommend people doing that. There's actually not just a simple email, but an email campaign. There's a keep in touch strategy that I teach for how to follow up after any kind of public presentation like this or a networking event. But I told her, use LinkedIn, start speaking at conferences. And she had, at this point, she lives in Washington State, but at the time we were having this call, she had just gotten back from speaking at a conference in New Orleans. And so that was already beginning to happen to her. I said, let's do more of that. And then the third thing I recommended is that she get some guest promotion spots on podcasts, because the message she has to share and the methods she uses to help these people regulate their nervous system in their profession so that they are better for the kids that they work with. That's a message that would do great on a podcast, which is just another form of speaking, right? And she's really good at this kind of stuff. So there's a difference between sort of splattering yourself on social media and having these deeper, richer conversations, which is exactly what all of this was about, right? And then the final pillar, the seventh pillar, is perspective. And that is, what kind of mindset would she need to carry this out? Well, for one thing, it was very helpful throughout this conversation to realize that it really wasn't about being seen. I mean, that was a little bit of it, but not really. She was fine in front of a live audience doing the work that she loves. It really was much more about preserving her energy and her resources, her time, to some extent her financial resources, but mostly time. I've only got so much of me, Wendy. I want to be careful about how I use my energy. So in order to do that, this was about serving those who need this information in a way where we can get it in front of them in the easiest and most effective way possible. So from the mindset that she would need to carry this out is just to understand that what she wants to do is connect with people on a deeper level in a very strategic way. It's not about being seen. She's fine with being seen. So when you're an introvert, now this might surprise some of you actually, introverts are often really good speakers. And that always surprises people. I'm like off the chart on the introvert scale, extrovert introvert scale of the Myers-Briggs inventory. I literally score like as high as you can score on the introvert end of that. And I have done a ton of public speaking, and I love it. I am fine in front of an audience. I thoroughly enjoy it, whether it's something like this here with you that feels much more sort of personal and connected, or whether I'm in front of 500 people. I'm fine with all of it. It's fun. And those who know me personally are always like, you can't possibly be an introvert. I've seen you. You couldn't do that. But that's not true. If you are an introvert, this is another sidebar, speaking in front of an audience is having one conversation with one entity. It's not so different from a one-on-one. What we can't stand, we introverts, is all that mixing and mingling and superficial small talk. That's what wears us out. But a deep guided conversation where I'm speaking to you as an audience and you are hearing me and responding to me, well, that's juicy and delightful. And that's exactly what was the case for my client. So the mindset piece for her here was, I'm fine with being seen. I just want to make sure that I am using my energy in the way that is best for me and that works best for the message and the audience, the message I want to communicate and the audience I want to get it in front of. So yeah, there's a place for a little social media, specifically through LinkedIn, but mostly it was about connecting as a colleague with other colleagues through networking, speaking, and being a guest on podcasts. So the cool thing about all of this is that we used the 7 pillars to think this whole concept through with her. And by the time we had worked through the entire process, she literally leaned back in her chair and was like, whew, yeah, that's better. Yes, she does need to promote her practice in new and intentional ways because she's trying to build a new audience. But she does not have to throw herself willy-nilly onto Facebook and Instagram and do a bunch of stuff that is not deeply satisfying for her and isn't honestly going to help her practice. Instead, she could be much more thoughtful, much more deliberate, opting for fewer but deeper connections with her peers, her professional audience, this new ICA in these other ways that we've talked about. So she wasn't doing anything wrong. She was doing just fine. And she doesn't have to wear herself out doing something she doesn't want to do. Is that not just the coolest thing? So I would invite you to do the same thing. Thinking about who you want to speak to, who you want to reach, the kind of clients you want to bring in, or the kind of work you want to do. Honestly, guys, use the 7 pillars to think it through, talk it through, and see if you don't come up with a clearer answer about what's going to be best for your practice. Yeah. So with that, let me come back to that free resource page that I mentioned earlier. If you go to wendypittsreeves.com/free-resources, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff there that I've got for you for free. What I would in particular recommend that you look into is the 5-step formula elevator speech worksheet. You've heard of the concept of an elevator speech. It's basically your 2-minute, 3-minute introduction that you might give at a networking meeting, or for that matter, a backyard barbecue. There are actually lots of ways to think through that. I have a specific worksheet that teaches you all of those ways, and you can find one of those that works for you and test it. Try it out for real. I think you would like that. That's a really good thing to get here. And then the other one that I would recommend is the IP360 scorecard, which I mention a lot. That's a good one for sort of giving you an overview of the 7 pillars as they apply to your practice in general. What today has been about that I'm so excited about is that you can apply this same framework even around a specific aspect of your practice and a decision that you have to make. Making decisions is your number one job as a CEO, and this will help you do that. So do you need social media? I don't know, but now you know how to figure that out for yourself, right? Right. All right, everyone, that's what I've got for you this week. I hope this has been helpful, and I will look forward to seeing you next week right here on Ideal Practice. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do 1 or 2 of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or 2, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do 1 or 2 of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.